Right, top of the hour it is. Thank you so much for making time. Thank you so much for always choosing to be with us right here on Rwanda Television. This is the summit and we are now in session. We come to you every Wednesday, 9 p.m. And as always, my name is Eugene. And Angwe, thank you for making time. Remember, on this program, we get to scale the heights just to be able to bring you all those kind of conversations that matter to us as a continent. And of course, we also get to bring some of those that we believe have something to add in terms of giving their thought process on these particular issues that we discuss right here on the program. It is your program as well, and you can always be part of this particular program by joining us on our social media platforms. The hashtag, as always, is the Summit RW. You can definitely jump in there and talk to us, and we'll be able to get your feedback or your comments on the topic of discussion that we have tonight. We are also live on our YouTube channel, and of course you can quickly jump over there and be able to interact with us, talk to us, tell us your feedback, share this link so that those who are out there who you feel need to listen to the conversation we're having tonight can be able to join us. We are discussing the issue of intellectual property rights, and the question we're asking ourselves tonight is, what do we need to do to accelerate the progress of filing the intellectual property rights? What do we need to do so that we can be able to see more people, more creatives, more innovators protecting their art, their work? Of course, we have several things that we know about this particular issue that we'll be talking about, and I want to just share with you a few of that. We understand that according to United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, that is UNCTAD, creative economy was actually projected to reach a global valuation of around $985 billion by the end of 2023, and it could represent a 10% of the global GDP before 2030. This is very significant, and we want to see, how do we tap into this? How do we ensure that the creatives are not actually being shortchanged or getting the shorter side of the stick? I wish that our technical crew could be putting on air some of these things so that we can be able to get them live and direct. I'm just going to read the second slide right here, which is actually the fact that the world of intellectual property, that is IP, is currently undergoing a rapid transformation throughout Africa. How can the continent play a role in the issues around IP rights filing? And of course, in studio, I have people who are joining us here, and we also have those who are joining us from far and wide. I have Liz, who's joining us all the way in Nairobi. Thank you so much, Liz, for making time for joining us right here on the program. Of course, Liz is an IPR law expert, and she's also the chairperson of the Corporate Tribunal of Kenya. Also joining us all the way is none other than Nancy Samurio, who's an IPR expert. She's also with the Africa Intellectual Property Rights and Innovation. Thank you so much for joining us. And here in studio, we also have two gentlemen who actually have a lot to say when it comes to the issue of IP rights filing. I have none other than Didier More, who's an examination analyst at the IP division in the Rwanda Development Board. Thank you so much, Didier, for making time for the program. And of course, we also have none other than Bertin Nibanda, who's actually the founder of AIIPITT. Of course, we'll be talking more about this particular school that actually he has put together as the executive director, and of course, his thought process on these issues. I want us to kick off this conversation, and I want to start off first of all, because I know we'll have time to talk about the national and regional or continental IP infrastructure, and we'll also look at the capacity building and education, and of course touching on automation and technology and a lot more of that. But let me start from here in studio with the representative from the National IP Office. I want to understand from where you sit, Didier, how can countries, or maybe before we even get into countries, why should I file? What is the significance of actually protecting or registering an IP for a creative or a creation or a piece of work that I've done? Why is it significant? Why should I even do it?
Thank you, Mr. Nangwe. Before even talking about registering IP, let me quickly give a small idea about IP, so that people can follow us and understand the discussion that is going to happen. So IP, first of all, it's everything around us. When I see this room, I can see different devices, TV, I can see different brands, I can see fashion, how you're dressed. All of that are IP. I can see mobile devices.
Yeah.
I can see, different many things.
Yeah.
So all those things have been created by some people. There are people that thought about, solving a problem. Yeah. So it first starts by the creation of the human mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. And after the creation of the human mind, like for example, such as logo, such as symbol, patent, invention, all that are part of IP. So then, once an inventor or a creator has think about a solution or a new way of solving a problem, and put it in a tangible form, like we talk about IP, and protect it.
Yeah. But we still don't have many people actually doing that. There's a lot going on in terms of creation. A lot of us are pushing for people to remain innovative, and actually many are. But few are actually protecting what they have actually come up with. And this is a very risky affair. And that's why probably we want to understand, why is it important for someone who's watching us tonight to be able to pick an interest and say, you know what, that idea, I want to actually bring it up, and probably you'll be able to come in on that. But let's bring in Barta here. From where you sit, what do you think has been the hindrance? Where do you see the bottlenecks in terms of people filing? Because we are talking about accelerating the progress that is already being made. It means that we are not moving at the pace that we want. A lot still remains at risk out there. Why is this the case?
Yeah, well, thank you for a good question. In fact, when we talk of IP in the context of Africa, it's relatively new concept. We have to admit that IP is a new concept that we are domesticating from outside Africa. So that is, itself is a challenge. Being when you look at the countries, developing countries, especially for Africa, many laws are now being domesticated. For instance, in Rwanda, the first law we have of IP for IP is of 2009. So meaning that it's now 14 years almost. So that is already an issue to discuss. So the second thing is about awareness. We have at least to put the law that protects those rights, but awareness, are people aware of those laws? Are they exploiting the rights the law provide? That is another challenge, awareness. Which
will actually build up on this very conversation. And thank you for actually both of you bringing up or setting up the pace for this conversation. I want to come to Nancy before I head over to Liz in Nairobi, Kenya. Nancy, you know, I want to understand, that's Liz, I want Nancy on the screen. Let's just be able to talk to Nancy. Nancy, I want to understand from where you sit, you know, as an IPR expert yourself, and of course, you know, working with the Africa Intellectual Property Rights and Innovation, you know, institution, I want to pick your brains. We've heard from the two speakers earlier here that one, the understanding is somehow there, that actually IP is all about just everything we see. It's someone's ideas that have actually become a bit difficult for people to really even understand them. What's your thought process on this? What do we do? Is this something that is it an idea or thought process you agree with, you also share, or what do we do around those things so that we can accelerate the filing process or progress?
Yes, thank you very much for that. What we believe in is that we should create ecosystems. So when we work with an ecosystem, we are now not just focusing on filers, but we are looking at government policy, we are looking at innovators, we are looking at policymakers, we are looking at national institutions. So for us as a Afripi, the project that you mentioned, we actually believe in value addition at every sector of the ecosystem. So we have a four-pronged approach, in terms of which, number one, we we try to work on modernizing the laws. And, and promote accession and harmonization of intellectual property laws across Africa. And then secondly, we also work on creating capacities in national intellectual property offices, working with judges, working with the national offices themselves, capacitating their staff, and also strengthening the administrative processes of these offices. And then thirdly, we also promote intellectual property awareness, because we realize that awareness is a very important and significant aspect of it. Right. And then we also work, we believe that they are the ones who can also fill in the gap and help in scaling up the filings. And for us, because of that ecosystem, we don't just believe in creating filings, but the whole process up to the registration of grant intellectual property rights.
That's a very interesting approach, Nancy. Thank you for that. But let me hear also from Liz. Liz, we've heard from what Nancy says, the idea should actually move away from creating filers to actually building the entire ecosystem and ensuring that the ecosystem is actually fluid and actually working so well. As a person who's actually been within the corridors of justice in terms of dealing with IP law and then looking at the gaps left, right, and center, what do you hear from the ecosystem? Does it fully exist? What do we need to do to actually reinforce it? And when we talk about the filers and their challenges from a legal perspective, what do you hear on the ground when you put your ears on the ground?
So the ecosystem exists, yes it does. The challenge is not keeping up with the current times. So I'll put it in for example, our IP office tend to be very fast. So you find that this is slower than it should, and it cannot absorb filing as it should, right? And then on the other end, the innovator they tend to overthink the process. So you find that after time, creatives are always talking to other people instead of professionals. Then keeping themselves with the right us. So unfortunately, sometimes we see a lot of wrong advice. So then you find is ill-advised, their strategy is not well informed by the law. So that is usually one of those challenges. So I think it's really important that the ecosystem keeps up with challenges.
Yeah. Liz, I'm sure when we come back to you, we'll try to fix the sound. It cuts at some point, but we got your point over there. And of course, I want to pick up from the aspect where you said that some filers are actually overthinking, some creatives are even overthinking the process. And I want to hear from Didier. When people come, and as we talk about the full ecosystem, where do we need to reinforce more so that we can be able to see, more of the creatives having their ideas, protected, of their creations protected? Where do you feel we need to put more effort as we look at it from an ecosystem perspective, as Nancy mentioned?
Okay, thank you. What has been observed is that there are a lot of things that happen, actually. There are many innovations. Today the government has put a lot of efforts to support young entrepreneurs and innovators by the creation of a lot of many innovation hubs, incubators, incubation centers. However, the IP aspect is not really taken in consideration.
By who? Not taken in consideration
by the innovation ecosystem.
Okay.
They seem to forget that IP protect the innovation.
Yes.
So what we do in RDB, in the IP office, we have made in place a awareness program. So we go and educate the public of the importance of the intellectual property and how to protect. So since some few years back, we have gone through different innovation centers. Even now, we are still doing a lot of awareness so that they understand and protect their IP. Yeah.
Right, right.
Yes.
Interesting. And if you're to pick up from there, Batra, he says the innovators or the ecosystem around the innovation is actually not taking the IP aspect in terms of registration of the IP rights as part of a very important process in their work. And then you earlier alluded to the fact that there's need for more awareness creation. Let's talk solutions here. How do we do this creatively? Just 2 ways that you'd be able to propose for awareness creation.
Yeah, well, 2 ways to correct this challenge.
Yeah.
One should be bringing ecosystem and build an ecosystem, a vibrant ecosystem, where enablers, let's start from innovators, enablers, and protectors must come together to build, to own IP. Because why I'm talking about this, it's because when you see IP, when you talk about intellectual property, it's something that is far away from the users, the innovators, inventors. So they tend to think that IP or intellectual property is about lawyers. But, and that's where we came in as African Institute to say that IP is for business. It's not for lawyers. IP is for business, is for enterprises, is for corporates. You see, that is where IP is. You see, so that is one. Second thing is about building or grooming IP professionals, IP experts from home. Well, let's be honest on this thing, because when you see African nations, we are lacking IP experts. Let's say if you go to any country and ask how many patent attorneys you have, who can deal with patent documents, who can draft patent document. Because before you go to RDB, there is a long process. For instance, when you ask inventors or innovators to write a patent memo, you see, they will not write it. If one try to write an invention memo, but he's not going to find a person who is qualified to understand that patent memo or patent document or patent report, invention report, who can translate that patent document, the patent memo, invention memo into patent document so that it can reach to RDB office. So, and that one affect the number of patent, the filings in IP offices in Africa. So we need to groom,
fix those two.
The
experts, and of course make the process also better. Nancy, I want to bring you in. I'm sure we have Liz back, but Liz, I'm going to come to you just in a while. But Nancy, I want to pick your thoughts from what we just had here, especially on the fact or the aspect of awareness creation. It seems that it is not just in the knowing of actually what to do, but it goes beyond that. And so maybe you could be able to share with us your thoughts on that. How do you ensure that the continent has more IP experts who can be able to support or assist those who are trying to file, so that we can be able to discourage the thought process that this is a very hectic process that you cannot be able to manage it before you even get to the National IP Office. I wanted Nancy to answer that so that we can be able to have Liz come in and also share her thoughts. Nancy, please. Do we have Nancy? All right, Liz, could you take that? Because I'm sure you had the question on the aspect of making sure we have more experts and also ensuring that, the process is not as tedious as probably how Bata has put it out.
Okay, I said how the offices are staffed. We've seen over the years a lot of investment has been going into the IP office staff, but in terms of retention, that has always been an issue. You've had that even patent drafting is an art, right? And even learning that is takes up time. So you can imagine retaining the patent drafters. Of course, the system will not work as effectively as it should. So I need to figure out how we the staff in our IPs respectively. And then also we need to embrace the different roles we have in the innovation ecosystem. The challenge is to try to do everything themselves. But every state has a different professional or skill involved. So as innovator, I do my thing. I create the innovation of whatever it is. And then after that, I understand I need to have an IP lawyer. So instead of going to here or talking to my friend, that is the first place. Because a lawyer will teach you with the right information what you need to do, the do's and don'ts, so that then you don't interfere also with the ability of your innovation to be protected, registered. So I'll give an example. With patents, the minute as I put social media, I destroy my novel. So you can imagine destroying your own novel as an innovator. Sounds ridiculous, but no. Yeah? So equip yourself with the right lawyer and then, listen to the advice. Sometimes people are in a rush. It's about gold rush. I want to be as famous as fast. I want to attract money. And then we forget that process. And when it comes to the filing process, the confidentiality and how professionally you handle your innovation is really important. So I think that usually is one thing that we need to embrace.
I know you wanna jump in, but just I see we have Nancy back, but let's hear from Nancy, and then we'll be able to come back in here in studio to be able to get more thought process. Nancy, I'll be able to pick up that question. Liz is advising, get yourself a good lawyer. Of course, a lot of startups, majority of them who are actually, we are trying to encourage to file or protect their rights in terms of their intellectual property rights, are also still operating on bootstraps. They're still having some financial challenges, and we all know the notion that a lawyer or legal fee is very important in terms of its cost. How can institutions like Afripi support? What are you doing in that sense, to ensure that we have a support system that can be able to help those who are still not able to have the resources to be able to lawyer up and go through all the process that we had from Bata earlier on?
Thank you very much. In Afripi, we have a help desk, which is accessible for free, and you can download basic information about African countries and their IP laws, the whole IP infrastructure, the costs, and the IP are the intellectual property rights specific information. So, for example, if you want to register a patent in Rwanda, it will tell you where to go, what the cost is, what the timeline for registration is, and some tips also what to look out for. So we provide this information online. And apart from that, we also do capacity building, in terms of which we have activities, and then we share information. For example, in October, we were in Ghana, Accra, and we held an innovation workshop. And in that workshop, we actually brought together inventors, We brought everyone from the ecosystem, government, policymakers, national institutions that are involved in innovation, national IP office representatives. And then in that discussion, we actually now touch base and find how to create capacities in a sustainable manner so that we are actually able to disseminate information for everyone who wants to be involved.
Yeah. All right. I'll come back to you. Just be able to probe that in terms of the pace and whether that is working and how you're even evaluating or assessing that, and how do you plug that into the entire continent perspective. Didier, I want to come back to you. You wanted to chip in, and I wanted to also get your thoughts on the aspect of the support system. Someone watching us tonight, they don't have the money to be able to get a proper IP expert or IP lawyer to assist them in the process of preparing what is required before they come to you at RDB. How do you support them? What do you tell them tonight?
Okay, this is a real challenge that we are facing. It's we are not again talking about the capacity building, but in RDB we provide a help desk.
A help desk.
Yes, we do receive clients and help them to fill the application. We have tried to streamline our application, our processes, and by making application simple, because in the past it was a bit really tough to fill those application forms, and also provide the facility online. People can fill the application and submit to us, and we respond to them. So these are some strategies that we put in place. But we also do. We also go to the public and work closely with, as I said, different public institutions, public research institutions, and innovation, and other national institutions or organs, like Minister of ICT and research, which also provides some funds for young innovators.
So there's money.
Yeah, there's money.
Funding to be able to allow you to...
There's money for innovation, And, what I mean, there is money for innovation. So what our strategy now is to promote a public and private partnership, so that with the public funds and the private investment, we can create a platform to support innovators and register the IP and improve increase the number of IP registration. That's what we are working really hard currently, so that in the future, all the innovation, all the creation, it's not only about innovation, but also the creative industry will be able to protect their IP.
Yeah, but what are the common mistakes that you've seen creatives do that you would like to advise tonight in terms of protecting their creations? I know of a friend who actually had something very innovative, and because he got a lot of publicity, he was happy for that publicity because it helped him to start or kickstart his career. But along the lines of that publicity, someone saw that creation and ran away with that idea. And that's how he lost. So what are the other mistakes, common mistakes? Just one or two, and then we can be able to advise the creatives tonight on what to do.
Yeah, before I attend to your question, let me allow me to go back to what you have been discussing about the activities that need to be implemented.
Yes.
We all agree that in Africa we still have this question of insufficient professionals.
Yes.
And I commend the initiatives that public and intergovernmental organizations are taking into consideration in order to help. Even to our side, in other countries, when you look at China, they have technology and innovation support centers, but in our countries, when you try to find those help desks, like in China, they have almost 300 technology and innovation support centers, and you can see the results. They fire around 10,000 patents a year. When you read Innovation Index, you find that China is competing with US in high number of filings. So,
but I mean, they're a developed economy. Cut some slack to African countries.
Yeah,
no?
now, I read those every year. I lead Innovation Index.
Yeah. So solutions. And how do we fix
now?
How do we do it? How do we get to that level?
We have started to fix. We gave mandate ourselves as African Institute of IP, Innovation and Technology Transfer to set that IP help desk, that in technology and innovation support center, and now we are tackling on those issues where we are supporting mostly in particular universities. When you ask universities if they have a budget to support those innovation protection, they don't have. So for us, we said, let's try and give a chance these young innovators and set up a technology and innovation support center. And now it is working
pro bono
every day.
Is it pro bono?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Every day the office is open at Kigali, here in Kigali. And we are starting in Burundi, Bujumbura. We are entering into partnership with the National Commission for Science and Technology. So we are actually grassroots solutions. We are finding grassroots solutions.
Or homegrown
coming
solutions.
back to yes,
because I wanted to do it too fast because we have
so
time.
Coming back to your question, please, the mistakes that young innovators or innovators in general are making. One, the first one is about they put themselves into facing prior art examination, because these pitchings, they go to pitch to disclose to the public their projects prematurely. That's the mistake one. This mistake two, they are not ready to learn. When you organize like a workshop about capacity building in IP,
very few come.
Very few, or they ask you if you are going to pay them. You see? The third one, there are huge resources out there. On Afripi mentioned that they have tools and resources on online. WIPO, they have huge resources. But how many who go to check if they can find those resources or who exploit the resources? Those are the
very powerful points. Very powerful points right there. I want us to see who do we have online so that we can be able to throw the question. Yes, I have Liz. Liz, I wanted to understand your thought process. You've been listening in, and probably my advice was to remove the earpiece, maybe so that you just use the laptop speaker. Maybe we could be able to hear you properly, and I think you've done that. Let's hope that it's going to be loud and clear. Liz, we've had what we've been talking about, the challenges and the mistakes that filers are making in terms of the creatives are making. As a lawyer, an IP lawyer, IP rights filing lawyer, what sort of advice would you be able to be giving to fix those areas? And what else do you hear that you think tonight we need to correct or fix as creatives?
This challenge,
Go ahead.
the pitching, that's excitement and tell the whole world that I can get funding. So the first advice, first figure out how to. Also that willingness to learn is really important. And I think I felt like I'm not alone. That we usually have people show up, because they're showing up. So they need to start showing up. And also need to understand, because you've gone through that, it doesn't make you one, right? It's giving enough space.
Liz, I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you short. I love your ideas. I can read your mind, and as you say what you say, but we're still getting some clipping from your sound, but you're saying the idea of going to pitch and the thirst to want to pitch all the time and also not showing up, those are key things that we need to fix. But as we fix Liz's sound, maybe Nancy, you'd be able to also share with us, what are the things that we can be able to fix in those areas? Especially when I took on Barta's point that Asian countries, China, US, are doing so well in what they do. But the reality is that the continent also needs to up its game, especially now that we are discussing about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. In terms of even harmonizing our IP laws, we still have some gaps in there. How do we maneuver around these murky waters to ensure that the IP law in Rwanda, if an investor or a creative is getting their creative crossing the borders through, internet or borderless ways, they're still protected. It doesn't matter which country or jurisdiction that their creative work is being exhibited.
Thank you for that question. And I think what the AFCTA is trying to do is really what we should be doing. Mm-hmm. That is actually speaking to each other at a governmental level, because nothing is as important as having a seamless policy so that we are all talking about the same thing. I think what my brother mentioned there is true. But Asia did not get to where they are, and China did not get to where they are in terms of just violence. There was deliberate national policy first, and then there was a regional policy. And then there was also a continental policy in terms of practice, where people agree that innovation is important. And on this point, I must mention maybe a differentiator with Africa. Most people do not understand that creativity and innovation are two different things, although complementary. And where we are in Africa is that we understand creativity. That is the output of creative solutions. But innovation is now creating an implementation system where you are now taking your creativity into something that is tangible. And I think that is now where we need to come in, so that we try to tell our people, our governments, our policymakers, that number one, we need a framework of national policies, which we can then escalate at a regional or continental level. We already have the RECs, the regional economic groupings that we have in Africa, but we need a Pan-African system in terms of which these laws are fully understood for what they are. So national policy is good, but strategy is the driver of policy. And this is where we need to start working as well, so that we escalate that. And then we always say awareness in teaching. But what we need is to actually try to bring down intellectual property, demystify it, so that everyone understands that it's the small innovation that are impactful, not the big ones. We don't always start from there. And, intellectual property is that every innovation, whether it is just small or whether it is something is big. So that is the work that I think we really need to do.
Yeah, interesting. I want to read some thoughts because, like I said, this is a show that is very interactive, and of course we open up for our viewers, you who's watching us, to also share your thoughts. And of course I want to read some comments that are coming through thick and fast on our YouTube live stream, and of course I'll be checking the X platform. Just keep tweeting at the hashtag #TheSummitRW, and we'll be able to read your feedback. I have Mushambo Robert, who's actually on YouTube live stream, who says, what is the expiry date of copyright in Rwandan context from the date of registration to the date of expiry? Good question. And then he also adds, the other thing is, how are artists' property rights properly protected in Rwanda, including poets, authors, singers, etc. And maybe this I could be able to ask Didier, is there an expiry date? What is the expiry date from the time that this person does a copyright in that sense? Just
Thank you. For copyright protection, the duration is 50 years after the death of the author of the
After
creator.
the death of the
death
creator.
of the creator. Yes. Yeah, but there are different type of intellectual property rights types. But for copyright, it's 50 years after the death of the creator.
Right.
But for the patent, it's 20 years. For trademark, it's 10 years, but renewable every year. Yeah.
Right. And the protection, the commitment in terms of assurance for those who are within the creative space. But of course, they cannot be protected if they do not file.
Yes.
Yeah.
First of all, before protecting, you have to file, as you mentioned. But we are also trying to work with the different law enforcement agencies to make sure that any infringement is reported and followed. For example, one of the roles of our office is also the mediation.
Yes.
Yeah, we do IP dispute resolution, mediation, when there is a case of infringement.
Right.
Without a legal system, when it's not about going to the court. We first do the mediation and work with the national agencies in charge of law protection.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Another. This is on the X
But
platform.
we also ask the creator to follow. Yeah, to follow.
They have to follow to file, and then they follow.
To file and follow, and follow their protection.
Okay. I have David on the X platform who says the issue of outdated laws in Africa have failed to beat the contemporary realities of integration. This has remained a challenge, not only in IP, but also in heritage management as well. It's a very interesting point that comes in there. But then I'm also concerned by the, advice that, a lot of young creators or innovators should try to avoid. That's what I'm reading, but I don't understand it better, that they should avoid, wanting to appear at every pitch session or wanting to showcase their creations. And Bata said at an early stage. Is this the same thing that you'd be advising, Didier, from the National IP Office? What are you advising? When do I know that is the right time for me to pitch my idea?
First of all, when we have an applicant, a young innovator, entrepreneur, who comes at our office and want to protect his creation or innovation.
Yeah.
First of all, we say it starts by the idea, by the intellect, the mind, human mind. But we recommend them to not disclose. Because if you disclose your idea prior to filing, you can fall to someone can steal your ideas.
Yeah. This
is the best way to do. They have to know that. Another way, also, I can say, when you are working in a working environment with different people, you do like NDA, non-disclosure agreements, so that you can pursue the person who steal your ideas.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do. There are some mechanisms like NDA, but for themselves, they first have to make sure that they don't disclose the information, even to a friend or to a colleague.
Right. That's very interesting. Is Liz back so that we can also try and read her thoughts? Liz, I can see you. Let's cross our fingers and of course just pick up from that particular point. Some people have even argued that NDAs no longer work, and some people also feel that if you come and you're signing an NDA with this person, they might also argue that we already also had a similar idea. When does an innovator know that it is time for me to actually tell people my idea? Even within the laws that we have, is there a way that, your idea can get some sort of protection even before you get to the full end of the IP right or patent or registration of that particular, or filing for that particular idea?
Nature of the, because, are you falling under patent? Are you falling under copyright, actually model, it will depend. And talking about IP, sometimes an innovation can be protected by the IP regimes. So that's what will happen. Of course, if you're looking at something that's novel and new, then you must start the filing process before even pitch everything. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that. Nancy, I want to read your thoughts also on this aspect. What are we telling the creatives, what are we telling the innovators tonight, especially those who actually have a pitch to do tomorrow to a potential investor who needs actually to give them some money for them to actually scale, and they've not registered or patented or actually filed for an IP right, ownership for that idea? Are we telling them tonight to shelf that dream, to shelf that idea, to postpone the meeting tomorrow?
No, I would say in some jurisdictions you have to understand that it's first to file. So it would be better to actually, I say, I'm going to do the pitch or after I've actually filed for either my patent, my utility model, my design, something like that. Or if you cannot, because let's be practical, it cannot be, then you don't have to disclose the full invention. I think one of the tragedies in Africa that we know is the Madame Veronica bucket. I think some people might know about it. She invented a bucket with a pedal during the COVID era. And that was quite a new innovation, which was, great in terms of combating COVID-19 at that time. But she didn't protect it. And then by the time she wanted to protect it because it was successful, most of Africa had already replicated it. And most of these buckets were not from China. So when you're going, you don't need to disclose the core of your invention. Just outline what is essential and you retain what you have. But the best strategy is to always file first and then you can discuss. And then also there's another branch that can be used, that is trade secrets, but that will normally operate in the way you restrict commercially viable information within a few people. And then when you go and pitch, you make sure that only those who disclose are able to do that. And then you bolster it with the NDAs. It's important. These things don't operate in isolation. The message I would say is try to utilize every protection that you can so that you're able to leverage protect your rights in a more practical manner.
Right. Interesting ideas there, but I want to understand also the realities of that in terms of, you mentioned earlier on the journey and the whole process of getting to the aspect of filing. And if you're saying the process is file fast, then go be able to share your idea or pitch, then probably we are looking at a dilemma somewhere for those people who actually want to do this. From where you sit, even from a public-private partnership perspective, from a partnerships, perspective, how do we assist these people who find themselves in such a situation? Just real quick.
Yeah. In fact, we have to agree that they disclose in good faith. So they need to be aware of this reality, that disclosing to the public a project that is still underway is a threat to them. They need to be aware of that fact. Now, how we can assist them is to educate them, to show them the process. Normally, they tend to think to protect after having a final product, but IP Office provides provisional to file a provisional specifications in case of patent, utility model.
Yeah.
So at any stage, you can go and file, because we use in case of Rwanda, we use first come first serve. You see, so if you file and as that provisional specifications, at least you are safe. So that's the advice that I can provide.
All right, interesting. How about you, Didier? I mean, especially that part, I want us to emphasize that it's better to start the process and then proceed, to mentioning it or discussing in the process, because when you start and get the provisional filing, like he says, you are at least safer than someone who didn't walk into that door to start the process. I mean, I want us to emphasize on that. What else do they need to do?
Yeah, this is the first thing to do. As mentioned by my colleagues, we have in intellectual property standard first filing.
Yeah.
So once you have first do the provisional filing, you at least you have protected your idea.
Yeah.
Before even disclosing, because if someone else, let's say an infringer, come after you, come with that
same idea,
and same concept, we shall check and verify and find out that you
did not file it.
You cannot file that application.
Okay.
But still, we need to make sure that they don't disclose. It's the principle of intellectual property.
Yeah.
We disclose after
filing.
But
Good.
prior to filing, it's better to
keep silent with
silent.
It. Right. It is actually almost time, and I want us to just quickly take our final parting shots. If there's anything that anyone is to remember tonight after this almost 1 hour conversation, Liz, I want to start with you. What is it that we need to remember? If there's anything we are to take out of this conversation tonight, Liz, you go first, just real quick.
I think invest in yourself, invest in your business. Nobody ever talks running out of money, but they're always saying we don't have money for legal. Set aside some money for legal. And if you're hard pressed, join an association and have a plan how you can have access to legal services, how you can pull resources together and have legal counsel help you throughout the process.
Right. Thank you so much for that. Nancy, what do you pick? What do you say those who've been watching us tonight should go with if there's anything there to pick from this show tonight? Just one thing.
I'll say capacitate yourself. Learn everything that you need to learn so that even when you go to a lawyer, you know exactly what you want. A good IP lawyer is seldom found. It's named because they speak your language and they have to understand your innovation. So you take the lead.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we have just 1 minute to share between the two of you, 30 seconds. What do we pick from here? Just one thing in terms of moving forward.
What I can advise is to use the resources that they are. Exploit the support they have. For instance, in our context, we set office. Now we are waiting for innovators to support them.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Didier?
Okay, what I can encourage to all entrepreneurs and young innovators to identify their IP needs in terms of their business and to come to RDB and to contact us if they need any support, and we help them to protect so that their creation, the innovation gets value.
Right.
And they will be rewarded for that.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Like I always say, this is usually the shortest 1 hour, but I also say that this is just the first of the many conversations we'll have on this conversation around IP rights filing, because it is very broad. And of course, we're just starting, and we'll have more time to be able to have more conversations around this. The conversation ends on these four walls, but it continues on our social media platforms. So let's keep talking. If there's anything you want to continue having or understanding even better, go onto our X platforms. Please just put in your questions, and the panelists are also active online. They'll be able to help you or respond to your questions. I want to say thank you for making time. As always, my name is Eugene Anangwe. Goodbye. I need to patent that. I need to